Well, good morning, church, and Happy New Year. It's really great to see you all. My name is Bejoy Pal, and I am the CEO of the Ascension Trust, but I'm also honoured and blessed to be a member of Christchurch Purley as well. We've looked at this passage in Mark 12 today, but we could easily have looked at the passage in Matthew 22, or the story of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10, starting at verse 28. In all of these accounts, Jesus is asked one question. What is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus' response is calm and is simple. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbour as yourself. Or as John's Gospel puts it, love one another. As I have loved you, love another. For those who have been on this journey with Jesus a long time, we may have heard these sentences or these phrases a lot, or have heard many sermons preached on this verse and this passage. And for those who may have come recently or may not be there yet, you still may yet to come to know that this passage, this verse, to love your neighbour, is one of the core foundational values of the Christian faith. Jesus' commandment is simple. Love. No agenda, just love. Reading the scriptures and look at the example that Jesus has given us, we have a live, in-person model to follow. Someone who shows us how to love and where to love. But let's not gloss over the most important reframing that Jesus did to this question in Luke 10:36. Jesus reframes the question of who is my neighbour to this. Who is a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? And I want that to be the question that we ask ourselves today. Who are we neighbour to? Who is neighbour to the poor? Who is neighbour to the rich? Who is neighbour to the lonely, the hurting, the broken? Who is a neighbour to the youth? Who is a neighbour to the elderly? If I was to ask everybody in this church to ask that question, who is a neighbour to, everybody would have their own group that they would fill that blank with. Who are we called to support? Who are the people that we know that are in need? Lucy, can I have the first slide, please? I am honoured and blessed to be able to represent the work of the Ascension Trust to you all today. The vision of the Ascension Trust is to reach out to where people are at, both physically and spiritually. We want to work in partnership with the local churches and the local communities to be a presence in the spaces where people are, to equip the church to help them fulfill their mission, their vision, and their calling that God has provided them by offering a number of different vehicles to be neighbours to those who are in need. Can you go on to the next slide, please? Hopefully this video plays. As a teacher, I would say talk amongst yourselves for this. Is it not playing? Not a problem. Okay. Go back one slide, please, Lucy. The Ascension Trust is probably most well known for its initiative of street pastors, which is empowering local Christians to go out into the streets to help support many people who are in need during vulnerable times in our society, whether that's during the night time, where people are coming out of the pubs, the bars, and the clubs, or whether it's any time during the day where people are in need of help. The street pastors are there, present, caring, listening, and helping. But there are a number of other initiatives which are all about the church being known in the community. Through our school and college pastors, we have volunteers who go and be a support structure to the school, the students, the teachers, and the people of the school community, to be that presence that is there to help support them in whatever they need. Through our rail pastors, we train up volunteers to go into our train stations and our railway lines to be a presence for anybody who may look to take their life by jumping onto the tracks, and we help them take a step back from the edge. And similarly, through our work with Bridge Watch, it's about suicide prevention on the bridges of central London for anybody who may look to enter the water. The work that we are involved with as the Synergy Network is about bringing together individuals, churches, and communities who want to take a stand against the plight of serious youth violence and young people losing their lives due to knife crime or gun crime. But also the work of our Beacon project, looking at how can we as a church use our resources, use our skills, and use our talents to look at building bridges and speaking on behalf of those who may have challenges of accessing healthcare within their communities, particularly with a focus on minority groups or those who may have problems in accessing the care that they need. Fast forward 2 slides, please, Lucy. There we go. But I also want to share a great deal of gratitude and thanks to Christchurch in the way in which it has been supporting the Ascension Trust and myself with our work that we do overseas, with a particular focus on Ghana. In 2015, I was able to go on my first trip with the Ascension Trust to Accra in Ghana, where we worked with the Kayaye women. Now, the Kayaye women are mainly women who are living in the northern regions of Ghana, and they are sent down to the south in Accra to find work, either to find work to help support their families, find work to help fund their way back into education, or they move themselves down south because they are trying to escape abusive relationships. In 2015, I met these Kayaye women for the first time. Some of these women are as young as 9 years old, so they're not women at all. They are just children. But what we did is we found partners through the Apostolic Church, partners through the Kayaye Youth Association, to try and find a way to help equip these women to get new skills. Because when these women travel to the south, the only work that they are often able to find is to become head porters, which means that they carry bowls with goods on their head weighing between 30 to 50 pounds of weight that they are carrying on their heads all day, either to sell goods or to be effectively like shopping trolleys in markets for people who are wanting to buy goods. So they are there working. They're earning no more than maybe £7 during this week. And they are then charged to find places on the streets to sleep. Working in partnership with the Kayaye Youth Association and the Apostolic Church, the heart of the Ascension Trust is, what do we need to do to be a neighbour to these women? And so we thought, what can we do to help them be equipped to get back into work, find new work, or get back into education? So we started working on a training scheme where we found people who had trained them to be seamstresses, people who had trained them to be chefs, and people who had trained them to set up their own business. Through the support that we have been receiving from Christchurch Purley, as well as others, we have trained, in the past year, in fact, we've trained 70 women to be equipped to become seamstresses. Another 50 have been equipped to become chefs and caterers, and another 10 have been supported to get back in to mainstream education. Next slide, please, Lucy. When the pandemic hit in 2020, Christchurch Pearly helped feed 3,000 Kayaya women and girls through the pandemic, delivered effective healthcare support and PPE and masks to be able to provide a safe and encouraging structure for these women, and helped many women find shelter. But in particular, what the support that Christchurch provided was that notion of how can we be a neighbour? We have people who want to be a friend. Next slide, please, Susie. In 2023, after the Ascension Trust started its Beacon project, it thought, how can we take healthcare into the communities where they wouldn't necessarily access it? So we actually also partnered with the National Health Insurance Scheme in Ghana to find a way to register a number of the women that we engage with to get access to healthcare. So we have been able to support 25,000 Kayaya women to get access to the immediate healthcare that they need. But outside of that, we've also been able to find supplies of medication and basic health support. Like I said, 70 sewing machines and training for Kayaya women was provided to become seamstresses. And we supported many more to financially move back to their homes in the north to start building businesses. A little bit of context. In the northern parts of Ghana, the culture and the way that people live is very different. It is the women who are asked to go and find work to support the family world. The men are encouraged to stay home and protect that space in that building. Okay, so this is a message for just the men. Don't get any ideas. We both have a role to play. The challenge with that mindset is in the north, the industry, the infrastructure, and the support isn't there. So the heart of the Ascension Trust isn't just to equip these women to keep them down south, but it's enabling them to find the skills to move back to the north, to create a space that they are setting up industry, infrastructure, and foundations, so that not only are the people who are sent back supported, but to stop the flow of people having to come down south, swimming upstream and downstream, so that actually the kingdom is on the move. Next slide, please, Lucy. And so the vision is expanded. In 2015, the heart was, how can we help support the needs that we saw? But working in partnership with the Kaya Youth Association, with the Apostolic Church, we're asking ourselves the question, what more are we being called to do? How can we be better neighbours for these women and for this community? So we're currently in the process of trying to build a building within the Apostolic Church where we can house these women, get them off the streets, give them dignity, give them safety, give them protection, but also a space where they can be trained and equipped to get back into education so that they can show each other, show the community, and show the nation what is possible when you provide those basic needs: shelter, safety, and time. In the process of building these buildings, we are then able to help speed up the process of helping them get back to their communities that they know of in the north. We're also looking to provide support for people to get back into education. A number of the reasons why they fall into the trap of having to become Kaya women is because they aren't given the support needed to stay in mainstream education. But our most important vision is, through all of this work, how are we making Jesus known? That Jesus is the one who is doing the equipping, doing the supporting, doing the encouraging and the building to really make a difference. Next slide, please, Lucy. Can you try clicking on the bottom left-hand corner of the bigger video and see if that works? No. Such a joy when technology works. So, in the first picture, the young girl who's dressed in black is a woman called Gifty. We met Gifty in 2023 in Accra when we were trying to provide healthcare to a group of these Kaye women. We heard Gifty speaking to the other women and the other girls in the community in a variety of different tongues, a variety of different languages that are common to the North, as we were trying to speak to her in Chi and in broken English. When we heard her then speak English, we asked her, Gifty, do you know English well enough to be able to translate on our behalf? And she said, yes, I think I can help. And as we saw Gifty communicate more and more to these women, we recognized here is a very smart, very able, very confident young woman. Through speaking with Gifty, we discovered that she had failed in her one exam that she didn't like, maths. She was brilliant at all of her other subjects, but because she could not do maths, she had to leave education. Her desire in her heart was to become a teacher. She wanted to get into education to help empower more and more women in her community to be able to get through the society. Upon hearing this, and a number of different people in our group heard Gifty and were convicted that we need to do something to support Gifty. We found a way to say, actually, Gifty, what do you need to be able to get back into education and learn to continue becoming a teacher? And so we found a way, we said, we will pay for your maths exam. We will pay for your education to get back in. This was October 2023. By February 2024, through the support that we were able to do by getting her back into education, by the support of the Apostolic Church and one of our good friends and partners at Alpha Beta School in Accra, Gifty passed the maths exam and was ready to then go into further education to learn how to be a teacher. But as a result of somebody seeing Gifty, taking the time to get to know Gifty, being able to support Gifty and show Jesus to Gifty, in Easter 2024, Gifty gave her life to Christ and she got baptized. But that is not the end of Gifty's story. Gifty went to education and the university realized Gifty was really struggling in engaging in academia to be in that space to learn to be a teacher. But somebody saw something in her and said, actually, this is not your stream, but actually maybe learning how to go into Montessori is. So Gifty was shifted into a new path where she thrived and flourished. All through the support that Christ Church, that other people, that the Ascension Trust were able to provide by just being a neighbour. Gifty has now qualified as a Montessori teacher and is in the process of applying for jobs to get into school. But not only is Gifty being able to find a way for her to thrive, through the support of the Ascension Trust, through finding other avenues of funding, she's been able to bring her mum back down to the south with her. So she's supporting herself and supporting her family. Because an answer was given. Who is a neighbour to Gifty? The reason why I wanted to show this video that's next to this image of Gifty is this is in a town called Medina. This image here was taken 2 days into us holding open-air gospel services in this community of the Kaye women. We took the gospel to them. We preached Jesus and gave them an opportunity to hear about this life of a man who they could call friend, who they could call savior, who they could call Lord. These Kaye women took that message to heart, and the night before, they gave their life to Christ. And because they were so bowled over by the power of the Spirit in their lives, they said, we are going to set up our own choir. We are going to take the mic off the worship leader, and we are going to lead worship just by singing and dancing and holy chaos. And it really was a sight to behold. Because somebody saw them, somebody heard them, somebody cared for them, somebody loved them, and somebody reached out to where they are to be a neighbor. I'm grateful for the way in which Christchurch has been supporting the Ascension Trust, supporting me and supporting much of the work of the kingdom. But I would like to encourage you to consider other ways in which you could continue to serve and support our work. We have an active street and school pastor team here in Croydon, which is looking to be a presence of the church in the community, in the borough, where the needs are. We would love more volunteers from all of the different churches that are out in the community. A small thing that is not commonly known amongst the churches or the community is to be a street pastor or to set up a street pastor group, it is completely ecumenical and relational at every level. There has to be a minimum of 4 different church denominations or churches who come on board before it can get it set up. So that when we get asked in the street, where are you from? We can say, we're from the local Anglican church, Baptist church, Pentecostal church, Catholic church, Methodist church, United Reformed church, Free church, Evangelical church, any church that you can think, to show that the church is united behind this work. Because unfortunately out there, people see churches like football kits. Everybody is doing their own thing, wearing their own jersey, not working together. But unlike Liverpool and Manchester, in Croydon, red and blue work side by side and rise up on wings like eagles. But we would also love people to come alongside and pray over the work of the ministry. We would, back one please, Lisa, thank you. We would love people to come and pray with us. None of our work takes place without a significant amount of prayer to help lead us, support us, and guide us into the spaces where we believe God is calling us. Bridge Watch is also another opportunity to come and volunteer and be a presence on the bridges of London, helping people who may be looking to take their life boundary in the water. Bridge Watch started in December 2023, and over the past 2 years, it has made over 150 interventions of people who may want to take their life by just being present. It hasn't stopped everybody, unfortunately, but each person we have stopped, spoken to, given the time to listen to, has made an impact that has rippled to bring safety, confidence, and encouragement to their families, to their friends, and the communities that they belong to. We'd also love for you to be more involved in our overseas mission. So we have a trip going next year in October from the 1st to the 11th. There are costs involved, but we would love as many people from Christchurch who want to come and see the work that you have been investing in firsthand. So if that is something that you would be interested in, please come and see me. I will be at the back of I'll be at the back in the foyer with a stand and able to talk and share more about the work that we are doing as the Ascension Trust. Last slide, please, Lucy. So other ways in which Christchurch can be involved. We would love new volunteers for Croydon street and school pastors. We would love prayer for ongoing conversations with local and national government that we are having about community safety. Protection over our teams as they go out on patrol. For those of you who are awake at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, you may know about some of the challenges and the vulnerabilities that our teams are out there in. But actually, the confidence we have because we know people are praying for us, we know that God is with us, we know the Holy Spirit is the one leading our path. In all my time as a street pastor in Croydon, I have never not felt safe. And that's not just because of how young I feel or look, because actually, don't let the grey hairs deceive you. But we would love more prayer and more support for our work. Invite us to come and speak in your spaces. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to share this platform today. But I recognize, actually, I don't need this space. The way in which we work is relational. House groups, work groups, cafe meetings, lunches, any spaces where you're gathering people together, we would love to be able to come and share in those spaces. And I wouldn't be doing my job or doing what my trustees asked me if I didn't ask you for your money. But I want you to pray carefully and consider supporting the work of the Ascension Trust individually to help us grow, to help us do more equipping and empowering of the churches, of the church, and of the community to really make a difference where you are. So, my challenge to you, Christchurch, my call to you, Christchurch, is simple. Who are you called to be a neighbor to? Where is Jesus asking you to love without an agenda? Where are you being called to reach out? How big is the vision that God has given you to make an impact where you are based? You don't need a plan. You don't need a committee. You don't need a 3 or a 5 or a 10-year business plan to love without an agenda. You just need to be listening. You need to be compassionate. You need to be present. And when you see someone who needs a neighbor, go and be that neighbor. So Christchurch, I leave you with this prayer from Ephesians 1, verse 18. I pray that the eyes of your heart are enlightened to know the hope of which you have been called. Because through the power of hope, you help open people's eyes to the power, the presence, and the blessing that is Jesus Christ. Amen.